They see the beautiful house on the harbour, they see the European trips, they see all the glory. What don't they see?
Well, that's 5%. You don't see the other 95% that goes into achieving that.
Christian Stevens has been awarded the best residential broker in Australia 5 times.
Australian Broker of the Year 3 times.
And was named CEO of the Year in the banking and financial services industry last year.
Broking's a weird one. Like, we've got 12,000 brokerages, 22,000 brokers. But for me, it's crazy that the biggest brokerage in the country writes $2.5 billion a year, given the size of the market. Like, It doesn't make any sense. It's less than 1%. You shouldn't be working at a brokerage unless you're owning your trailbook. If you're building an asset that you don't own, it's like buying a property that you don't legally own. It makes no sense. I went from 30 mil to 120 in 1 year. Whoa. Because all of my time was spent on new business content and relationships, which is like you're in a sales role. There has to be someone to change things. And it has to be someone who does things differently. Otherwise, nothing ever changes and nothing ever evolves. And I've got no issues being that person again with this new business model.
How did you become Australia's #1 mortgage broker? Christian Stevens, mate, welcome to the Top 1% podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. You and I have been trying to line this up for a while. We met each other a few years ago at the RAB Awards, man. And I've heard you spoken about so many times by so many different people, and it's a pleasure to finally be sharing the mic with you.
Mate, you too. You've come a long way since we first met.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. It's been a journey, mate. It's been a journey for us both. So I'd love to ask you the biggest lessons that you've learned in business, but then alongside that, what are probably the biggest hardships that no one sees from the outside? Because they see the beautiful house on the harbour, they see the European trips, they see all the glory. What do they don't see? What don't they see? Sorry.
Well, that's 5%. I don't see the other 95% that goes into achieving that. Growing a business is hard. If I had my time again, there'd be 100 things I'd do differently, but then it wouldn't be the business that I've got today. I think some big learnings for me have been compatibility in a partnership. People can write big business, but it comes down to your compatibility in a partnership more than just doing a lot of business. And it's hard to manage expectations at scale. Like, we've got 80 odd people in our team now. I think you've got 60 odd. Yep. That's an enormous amount of people. If you had 60, 80 people sitting in a room, you couldn't spend an entire day talking to all of them at once. So it's hard. So the way that you communicate with people changes too. You can't have... I'll rewind a bit. So I was at Shore Financial for 10 years, which was fantastic. Yep. But I was mates with everyone there, really like tight-knit. And then when you change from being a broker to a business owner, you can't be friends with everyone anymore. And I think for me, that was a big challenge. Yep. It was difficult because I was always mates with everyone. All of a sudden, you're now the CEO and you can't go for after-work drinks, really. And you can't be too involved in what they're doing on the weekend or how, what's happening in their lives. It's just different.
Why? Why do you think?
Because if you've got 80 people and everyone's got something that they want to talk about, you can't get any work done. So you almost need to step back a bit and then have your heads or managements in each one of those teams become the people that you spend most of the time with, and they're spending time with their teams. I'm always available if anyone wants to talk in the business, but it's just different. And I think anyone running a big business will feel often that they're more like a psychiatrist than they are a business owner. And that's not a negative comment. It's just a lot goes on in people's lives outside of work. And the things that happen outside of work often result in the way that they perform at work. So it's just a fine line, I think, with asking the right questions and being involved without being too involved as a business owner. And your priorities change. Like, when you're an individual broker, you're all client focused because that's your job. And then when you're a business owner, your focus changes more to the team.
For sure.
Obviously, client outcomes are super important for business, but it's just a different shift. So for me, the last couple of years has been a lot of learning. I definitely thought being a self-employed broker at a brokerage was the same as running a brokerage. It's not. And also, growing at the pace that we're growing at has its own pains. If you're driving a car at full throttle, something's going to break eventually. So learnings would be maybe just to scale it back a little bit on the speed. Someone said something cool to me the other day: the fastest way to get to where you want to get to is slowly. Which I thought was quite powerful.
Yeah, funny to think about that.
Yeah, but there are ways that you can fast forward that momentum without breaking, and I will go into a bit more the business model later. But yeah, man, there's been a lot of learnings. I actually went into business originally with another person, which didn't work out, and just wasn't the right fit. And
Incompatible.
yeah, it just wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
And you can try and break it down to 100 different things that happen, but the reality is, whether it's in a personal or professional relationships, most relationships don't work out.
Yeah.
Most businesses don't work out. People don't talk about that a lot. And on the flip side, if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have found the amazing business partner I've got now.
Yeah.
So, at the time, obviously very challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but any really difficult thing that's happened in my life has been followed by probably the best immediately after that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's all part of learning and growing, really.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's funny, man, that last piece you said just there. I remember I interviewed Toby Pierce about a month ago. Obviously a hyper successful individual as well. And he said to me, the greatest lessons and learnings he has ever had in business, personally, professionally, whatever it's been, has perfectly coincided with the most pain that he's ever gone through. You know what I mean? So the best lessons typically come as a result of the most pain, the most hurt, and the scars that you kind of come out of.
And two
from
people can have exactly the same experience, and one can flourish, and one can bury themselves as a result of that. So you definitely find out who's good under pressure when things aren't good, when things are challenging. I think growing a business, and I'm sure you've had this, where you've got expenses coming out of 300,000 for the month and income coming in of 200, and you're thinking, "Fuck, how am I? What's going on here?" Especially when you're starting. So cash flow in any business when it starts is difficult. Growing a business in Australia is not cheap, but these are all challenges that everyone has. But definitely compatibility in business partnerships is important when things are not amazing, because that's when you see what people are really made of.
Can I ask you, with the decision to go from your broker, obviously at Shore, and then you've left first relationships didn't work out. The first business partnership didn't work out, and then you've then evolved into Flint Group, which is obviously doing exceptionally well. But then you also said that like what you could write as a singular broker sort of thing almost like surpasses it. And I know it comes down to the greater goal that you guys are trying to smash and take and conquer the supposedly impossible and do what no one else has done. What was the deciding factor? Why step away from it was 10 years, sure.
Yep.
What made you step away from 10 years there of being a beast, dominating and almost having that comfort there as well of being the best?
There's nothing scarier than comfort. It's an incredible business, and I have nothing but respect for everyone there. Yeah. I was the number one writer there for 4 years. Like, what's next? Mm-hmm. Equity wasn't available in that business, and it made me go and do my own thing.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. And I'm always like a challenge. I don't like to do what everyone else is doing. It's just never given me any kind of satisfaction. And look, the money is a byproduct of doing something you enjoy well, and it's just how much money I'm making is not a reflection of how happy I am, and it certainly isn't a reflection of how motivated I am in business. Mm-hmm. So that push to get me to do my own thing was the best thing that would have ever happened to me. It would have been easy to stay there, but at the end of the day, I was building a trail book, not a business. Yeah. So I was dying in a car crash or something horrible to happen to me. They sell that for a 2.5, 3 times multiple, pay out a portion of my mortgage, and that's not really a retirement strategy for my beautiful wife or my family. Like, it's not a fair representation of the work that I've done to date.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think at some point it becomes a trade-off. What is my time worth, or what am I building? Yeah. And like, am I spending time away from my wife and my family to go and work to make nothing? By the time you sold a trail book, and it for me, it was more around what does that look like in 10 years' time, and how can I get a better multiple for a sale? And there's a bit of a journey where you've got 2.5, 3 times multiple for a trail book. You've got 4 to 6 times for a business, depending on the diversification, some other stuff in broking. And then you can get a much higher multiples if you can get it more of like a tech AI multiple. So that's where we're heading, right? Okay. Our industry is becoming a digital end-to-end
for sure
industry. It's going to be fintech in 10 years' time or even 5 years' time, and brokers will be more like BDMs.
Yep.
So for us, it's like, how do we get ahead of that? How do we actually position ourselves as market leaders rather than paying for the next SaaS tool that comes out? I want to be at the forefront of that change, and that's why we're kind of structuring the business the way we are and heading towards an AI, agentic, focused brokerage in the future.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. So it's almost like a mix between the undeniable itch of a high performer that you were because you said like there's nothing scary for you than being comfortable, which is funny because 99% of the population sit in comfort and they don't like to go outside the comfort zone. So obviously the inevitable itch of the high performer combined with obviously wanting to build something significant for yourself rather than it being tied for someone else and for someone else that you weren't able to.
Broking's a weird one. Like we've got 12,000 brokerages, 22,000 brokers. But for me, it's crazy that the biggest brokerage in the country writes $2.5 billion a year, given the size of the market. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it's less than 1%.
Yeah.
So
what is the greatest broker write?
Well, this is an interesting one, right? Because you get to a certain point where you can't write any more on your own.
Okay.
So, for me, I'd rather have a great team of brokers with their own ownership working in our business rather than funneling all the leads through me.
Yes.
And also, you've only got a certain amount of time, right? So
of course.
You can't be everywhere. Yeah. So, look, what is the main? There's plenty.
And it means you're skimming all the anything little, right? You got to be targeting.
There's several brokers doing like half a bill.
Okay.
After that, it becomes almost impossible to write more than that. Really.
Yeah.
Even average loan size is changing and whatnot, diversification, everything else. Like, it just becomes a nightmare. And look, I had a lovely head of hair when I started this job, and nowadays it's just not. And you know this well, like you're dealing with people who are emotionally charged, a lot of money on the line. They're not making rational decisions a lot of the time. And our job is just to manage that expectation, to give them feedback of what options are available to them, and then obviously manage the process from start to finish. But it's hard.
Yeah.
You're under time pressure. Banks are never easy, but it's all part of the job. But yeah, definitely it's stressful.
Yeah.
But the models, it's a weird one. So our business model was, how do we, like, yes, we can be the biggest broker in the country, which we will be by the end of the year. But for me, and I don't want to sound arrogant saying that, like that's not an achievement given the size of the market and how many brokers there are. Like that is not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Where I see the value is having these state-based HQs. So finding existing businesses writing $500 million that want to be part of something bigger.
Yeah.
They can bolt on, remove themselves as a key man risk, diversify, increase their EBIT multiple. It's only upside.
Yep.
And also be part of something bigger. It's exciting. And we had our first one in South Australia sign on, Sergio Stefano.
Nice.
He's an animal. And then we've got another couple almost there. But it's challenging doing this at scale. But I think with the right brokers with these state-based HQs, about 30 or 40 metro and regional locations, individual brokers, you can write $10 billion a year, and that's our target over the next 5 years. And I think you can do it with like 80% less staff than you would traditionally need.
Why? How?
Because it's a high performing broker. Okay. I don't want to have 2,000 brokers doing $20 million a year. Yep. I want to have 25% of the top 100 brokers working within the business, because any good achiever, high achiever, wants to be surrounded by other high achievers. And where I've learnt the most in business and life, for that matter, is surrounding myself with people that have challenged me but not tried to bring me down. And I'm always trying to reach out to other brokers or other business owners and say, hey, look, what are you doing? How'd you do that? Can you give me 5 minutes of your time? And anyone who's genuinely successful normally has time for others. And I'm a big believer in that in business. If you want to train the best, be the best. So if you want to be the best, train the best. And like it's a proven strategy, and it's definitely been a huge catalyst for my own growth. I think even at Shore Financial, surrounded by 10 other brokers that are all top 1% brokers in the industry, you can't not get better. Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Even if you just rock up to work each day, you're gonna gain more knowledge from being there than you would from 30 years of working anywhere else. And that's the same kind of structure and support that we're building with Flint. It's like if you're surrounded by great people doing great things that are aligned towards a common goal, you can achieve some pretty incredible things quickly.
For sure. Man, I love that. And I love the idea around that. And it's quite simple. It's like who you surround yourself is who you become.
100%.
You want to go to a different level. You need to find someone that's been there that can help show you the way to get to that different level as well. Man, I want to hit you with one question around the idea of there really being no, like what's the downside, right? Of someone coming to say work at Flint, say partner with Flint. You've got all these guys that are coming in, they've got all these different upside sort of things. And just to be direct, because it's interesting, because we would have a lot of brokers listening to this
downside,
as well.
they have to cannibalize their own brand.
Okay.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah.
Ego gets in the way of good business all the time.
For sure.
And I've definitely think of a couple of conversations I've had recently where, I won't say who, but people just can't get their heads around not being
the face
of their business. And, if that's probably it, really.
Yeah.
Um,
It's giving away the name, right?
Yeah,
Effectively.
And look, there would be, in some cases, some short-term reduction in income for some of the bigger businesses with transitioning and whatnot. But the upside is 100x bigger than the short-term loss.
Yeah.
Um,
Why is the upside 100x bigger?
because even if they work for 30 years, 40, 50 years, they're never going to have a multiple like they're going to have by coming into partnership with us. It's impossible.
Okay.
And also, they get diversification. They do asset resi, commercial business, development, connection services, legal advice, insurance, and everything else. They wouldn't have 90% of that. And except for that, mate, like a lot of these operators are the best already in their state.
Yep.
And they're like, what's next as well?
Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't want to be the best in South Australia. I want to be the best in Australia.
Yes.
The whole country.
Yep.
And what also comes with that is on the flip side, so B2B partnerships is a big part of broking, like whether it's accountants, financial planners, real estate agents, property managers,
VAs.
buyers agents.
For sure.
Buyers agents are great. Use them. They're normally very locally based.
Yep.
And it's a very traditional mindset. So part of our growth strategy is once we have our state-based HQs, we can do national enterprise level partnerships. So we can go to someone like an NRMA or a Qantas or McGrath, or not McGrath, but you don't get the point. Whoever have these huge national teams with thousands of sales reps and do a partnership with them with a couple of meetings, as opposed to having 2,000 individual real estate partners is a nightmare.
For sure.
Having one real estate partner with 2,000 sales agents is a gold mine.
For sure.
And also from a business perspective, for them, it's much better for the business as well.
Yep.
So I guess that's where we're heading with our model, is those enterprise level partnerships at scale without compromising the customer experience. We've got a huge office in Nepal. We do our loan processing over there.
In Nepal?
And
Yeah, right.
we used to have had teams and offices everywhere over the years. I had an office in the Philippines for a while, which was great. But Nepalese are definitely on another level.
Yeah, right.
Hardest workers in the
Sure
world.
is.
Interestingly, when I used to be in nightclubs, a lot of the bar backs were Nepalese.
Okay.
And they just
Really?
were workhorses.
Really?
Yeah.
Hectic.
A lot. A lot of them actually end up coming to Australia culturally. It's very similar.
Yeah, right.
But they definitely work hard. They love producing incredible work, and we definitely couldn't do what we do without them. So we're growing that office out aggressively. And also, like, there's 20 odd million people over there, 20-something% unemployment. They've all got MBAs, they speak multiple languages, they're switched on. So there's not a shortage of great staff that want to come on board. And I think being able to build out career progression for them as well is as important as the guys onshore.
For sure. And I guess the bigger that you guys get as well, the bigger you're going to be able to grow that HQ and that business too.
100%. Like, there's definitely going to be a point where technology will increase as well. We definitely won't reduce the headcount, but we'll probably end up stop hiring as aggressively because, like, as with the banks as well, right? Like, AI and tech and everything else coming in will just mean that the numbers of staff required won't be as many. But more importantly, they'll be able to elevate the staff into more dollar productive activities.
For sure. I love that, man. I love that. It makes a lot of sense as well. And even like one of the other things that came to me as I sort of asked that question originally, like, why would they, or like, what's the downside risk of brokers partnering up, especially if they're already successful? But it's, man, we're all successful. Like, let's say they're all successful within the top 1%, but there's always things they can learn from people who have done there and actually gone to the top level. You know what I mean? There's always things to unlock within that. And it would be really interesting. Like, it would be such an interesting thing to know, like, how many of them actually unlock another 20%, even just by being able to tap your brain and what you've done.
No, definitely. Like, I know that, I've got 3 or 4 unbelievable operators in our business. That probably 3 or 4 of the top 10 brokers in the country already. And what I learn from them on a daily basis is, you can't teach that shit. Like, someone can work for 10 years and teach you, everything they know in an hour.
Yep.
That's the power of good mentorship.
Crazy, hey?
Yeah. And that's why I love surrounding myself with others that are, better than me or I can learn from, because it's better than any amount of reading or education you can do yourself.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, I think a good mentor, it's a crazy thing. I literally did a podcast with someone on this yesterday, and we were talking about the idea around mentoring, right?
Yep.
And how so many people try and wing it themselves, they figure it out themselves, or they just, whether it's they're working with someone that's a mum and dad, at their level or whatever. And it's like the amount of circumnavigation you can do by engaging someone or working with someone or asking the question of someone who has got that experience, they can literally cut out, like you said, their 10 years of
100%.
learning or 10 years of elite performance, bringing it back for the side of, let's say, mentoring of someone that can help with that as well. It can't be understated, man, the value of that.
Definitely. And look, a lot of people are like afraid to ask for help. And I think he's got to reframe it saying asking for feedback. So it's not help.
Yep.
Just asking for clarity on something. It's very normal.
Yep.
And as long as you don't ask the same question 6 times, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
And just another thing about, I guess, the partner to the business model is we've got a full in-house credit, loan processing, post-settlement compliance team. And traditionally, a lot of brokers will do their own credit.
Yep.
It's fine to do that, but like it's very unscalable.
Yeah, right.
So we do all of that. So basically, it gives the broker 8% of their day back. So you can grow the equivalent of 8 years in 24 months. So we're seeing guys come in at 80 mil and they'll do 250 the next year. Or we got a lady in our business who's come in at 25, 30 and she'll do close to 100 just in 12 months.
Yeah.
Like she's not. It's just a time thing because you can't. The way that the mortgages work, it's still a very manual process and there's only so many hours in a day. And most people are limited by their process and their team, not their ability.
Yep.
So we're finding that, brokers that have been somewhere else for years doing, fine, just blow up very quickly within 90 days because they've got all this time back. So they're out there producing content, relationships, B2B partnerships, and they're just approaching their day very differently.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. Like I can think of one guy in our business was working as a PAYG broker somewhere else. He's come on board. He'll do over $1 million this year in revenue for himself, but more importantly, he's gone from PAYG to a self-employed broker. He's building his business, and now we're in the process of building out a team for him. So he's going to have 4 or 5 people in his own business.
Yeah.
But nowhere would you get that kind of mentorship and support to be able to do that effortlessly. I'm all for creating something of substance for other people, like a rising tide floats all boats. I don't understand how most brokerages don't have genuine ownership for the people that help them achieve that. Like our model gives ownership back to the brokers. They own the clients, they own the partnerships, they own the trail book legally if they were to leave. It's a simple buy-sell agreement. Like it doesn't need to be the way it's been done. Yep. And there's a lot of brokers who are going to hate me saying that, but you shouldn't be working at a brokerage unless you own your trail book. And what I own is like legally owned, not just you get to keep your trail if you leave. That's not ownership. But if you're building an asset that you don't own, it's like buying a property that you don't legally own. It makes no sense. So for me, and that's only that top tier broker. Like yes, there's definitely a period of time where you should be working at another brokerage learning, definitely for a couple of years under a mentor. But after you've done that, like it makes no sense. Which is why you've got 12,000 individual brokerages scattered everywhere, and it's such a cottage industry because people want ownership. If you can tackle the ownership problem or the ownership challenge, then like why would you go and work for yourself at home on your own and be lonely when you can work in a team and culturally it's just so much more exciting and you're going to net the same amount of money, but you're part of something way better.
If you'd had that at Shore, would you have left?
No.
Interesting.
No. Probably not. And I've said that openly multiple times.
Yeah.
Like I still have nothing but respect for the guys that run that business, and most of my good friends still work there. Like I sat next to those guys and girls for 9.5 years. For sure. Every day I spent more time with them than I spent with my wife. And no, I wouldn't have. Yeah. And look, that for me is the whole catalyst of why I created the business. Is not against them, but in any way, it's just an industry-wide challenge. Brokers actually don't want to work on their own. That they actually would love to be part of a bigger team, and they come into work, and culturally, it's just so much more exciting.
Mate, it makes so much sense because like I was trying to pick through a bit of that stuff there, and then when you finish with that, it actually makes so much sense because it clicked in my mind as you were saying that if that was on the table there originally, I don't reckon you would have left, and that's why I asked you the question. And it's a funny thing because sorry to cut you there, but it makes sense because it makes sense why you're doing it. And it makes sense why, and I agree with you completely. Like the fact that when someone explained this to me the other day around the fact of, the biggest brokerages only write sometimes in, 1 to 2, you said the biggest is 2.5 billion a year. And yet the market is so enormous. And that's the biggest. Yeah. It's because of that exact reason. People get to a certain point and they're like, hang on, like I want ownership of this piece. So they're always peeling off. And it sounds like what you're trying to build is actually something massive where people have their piece of the pie as well. And it's not just everyone kind of for themselves.
It makes no difference to head co-ownership multiple, like valuation perspective.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And if anything, it means you retain your best performing team members as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer, but I'm sure it's going to be the catalyst for change for a lot of business. I don't mind being the one that gets a bit of heat. Like I've always done things differently. Like
No,
when I
it's
started,
mad. I love that.
when I started outsource my loan processing, I was told, that's not going to be compliant. You can't do that, and it was fine. When I outsourced credit, I was told I wasn't a real broker because I'm not doing the deal end to like. First they laugh, then they follow.
Yeah.
I've always been the one that's done things differently and then being ridiculed, and then 6 months later everyone's doing the same thing anyway. And look, it doesn't bother me. I'm not saying it in an arrogant way. It was like there has to be someone to change things.
Yeah.
And it has to be someone who does things differently. Otherwise, nothing ever changes and nothing ever evolves. And I've got no issue being that person again with this new business model and doing things differently. I'm no issues at all standing in front of the industry saying that things need to change. And I think a lot of people agree with me, but most are just don't want to say it out loud.
Especially not if they already got a vested interest in retaining things at the status quo. But man, I love that. I think having change for that purpose, and I think being driven by things that potentially didn't keep you at somewhere, and if a change like that can keep great people in the organization and stop bleeding as well, then man, it makes so much sense. Actually, I love it from that piece as well. It's yeah, dude, it's funny to unpack all that like right at the start. You know what I mean? With everything to do with that. So, have you ever touched on that stuff before?
Oh, not really. I think people come in and they want to know like the same old questions and whatnot, but most people don't talk about the fact that business is hard.
Yep.
Most don't survive.
Yep.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving it a go and it doesn't work out.
Yep.
I'd rather give it a crack and not work out than sit on the sidelines and ridicule people that are giving it a go. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Australia's got the worst tall poppy syndrome I've ever seen.
For sure.
But also at that top end, when people are actually doing well, it's actually the opposite as well. Mm-hmm. So I find that the people who are doing the least have the most to say, and that those that are actually doing well aren't the ones saying the negative things about you. So yes, it's got the worst tall poppy, but also on the flip side, like I'm also surrounded by amazing people who motivate me and inspire me on a regular basis. So it's not all downhill.
How did you get past did you struggle with that for a bit at first?
Look, I think what people say to your face and what they say to others behind your back are probably two different things.
And you're a big boy too, so who would say things to your face?
Size, weight-wise, maybe, not not anything else. Yeah, it's not that. It's just part of it comes with it, right? Like you can't expect to be doing big things without rustling some feathers.
Yeah.
And that's just going to happen. Mm. But like anyone who knows me knows I'm a fairly nice person and I've got time for anyone and I've never done a wrong thing by anyone in my life intentionally. It's just not the person I am. So interestingly, my now business partner, Reedham, said to me the other day that I'm not the person he thought I was.
Interesting.
I said, what do you mean by that? And he goes, I see I guess all the nice. It's funny, right? Because I don't see myself like that. Like when he says, I see them. Even he said before about the the nice view and stuff like that, and Europe trips. I only went to Europe 3 years ago for the first
really.
Yeah, my wife and I, and our families came from nothing. My wife's family, they're Serbian refugees, came here in the 90s. My parents grew up with absolutely nothing and worked their ass off. And only very recently, probably the last 15 years, has all of that hard work compounded for them. But I guess I'm a bit of a chameleon. Like, for me, I get home, I put trackies on and my slides and like I'm not wearing a Tom Ford suit. It's just different. So I know how, I guess, to be around certain people, but I'm a pretty down to earth person. But yeah, that comment was an interesting one. But he said also it's what is most attractive about you is that people want to be attracted to success, and success was different on different people.
Yep.
Some of the most successful clients I know, you wouldn't know they had $1 to their name. But some of the ones that are at that 10 to 20 mil net worth are probably the most arrogant people you ever meet. So it's interesting. So you get to a certain point, and I'm nowhere near any of them, but it's just funny because a lot of my clients are super high net worth clients. It's just very interesting to firstly hear their stories about how they've made their money. Like some of them are just like the most odd industries and professions that have just done so well just by staying in the game for a long time and consistently putting in effort.
Yep.
If you think of a property that you own for 30 years, 60% of the capital growth happens in that last 10 years. If you think of a career, 60% of your growth would normally happen towards the latter part of the career. That's why you see all the successful people or Australia's wealthiest people are normally a bit older, because it just takes time to build that momentum and those connections and that knowledge and that understanding of how to actually get things done. But yeah, it's interesting being around high net worth clients all the time and just the way that they approach their days. And yeah, it's very different to the upbringing that I had, for sure.
How do you think it? Obviously, it's a massive difference if you grew up obviously without money, like with the family. But how do you see, like you said, like so many of them don't look like they have a dollar to their name. Why do you think that? Like, is it a way they naturally portray themselves, or is it because they just grinded for so long and didn't have it, so it's almost like so different to go to that level? You know what I mean?
I'll tell you a couple of stories. So I had a client acquiring a site in Elizabeth Bay probably about 12 months ago for 72.5 mil.
Yep.
He rocked up in a Uber with thongs on and a t-shirt. His family would have to be up there with the top 3 biggest property developers in the country.
Right.
Big money. And I just remember seeing him step out of the car, and I was just laughing because I was like in a suit with a tie, and it was about 30 degrees. I'm sweating and thought, God, I'm a loser. And another one.
You thought you were a loser?
Oh, it's just funny how it's just different. I think people, it's a hard one, right? 'Cause you're trying to grow your business, you got to look a certain way.
Yeah.
People are very judgmental, right? So if you look at someone, you see them wearing, no offense to you, a t-shirt or something, or you see someone wearing a suit, you're naturally going to think the person in the suit is more switched on. It's just interesting. How that works, and the first time you see someone, and then and then you get to know them, you're like, okay, it's the opposite of what I thought.
Yeah. But similarly, if he'd gotten out of the car in a suit, and you were wearing, maybe if you were wearing
a t-shirt, he'd be like, mate, that's grow up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Mate, this is a big, like, you can't wear something like that to it's just interesting how that works. And another client the other day, who's definitely one of my biggest clients. Yeah. He had his 40-year school anniversary that afternoon, and he was leaving, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to go now. I'm just going to catch the bus into the city." And his wife was like, "Why are you catching the bus for? It's so stupid." He's like, "Oh, why not? Whilst I've got my driver staying at the front waiting for me to finish the meeting." I was like, "Man, I'm not worth 1% of what this guy's worth." Yeah. It's just, but like, obviously there's a difference between being at that point at the end to what happened between
for sure.
then. I'm sure he would have had all these things as well.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. A couple of those catalyst moments where I'm like, Jesus, that's a bit of a slap in the face, but like in a positive way, because I think you need to get reset sometimes.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
need to realize that, look, and I'm a Canberra boy originally. I love my cars.
Yeah.
I understand from a marketability perspective what they do.
For sure.
But on the flip side, you get some haters who judge you, and it's you can't win.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like you just got to understand your market and what they want to see.
For sure.
And lean into it, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, 100%. Man, I love that. It's funny as well. If you don't mind me relating to myself a little bit there too. So obviously I got a nice house these days. I've got a few nice cars as well.
Congratulations on the new purchase.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
But it's funny, man, because I've still got the ute that I've had for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And when it gets warm, I am in a pair of footy shorts that are probably 5 years old with holes in them, and I wear no shoes and no shirt half the time if it's in summer, especially. And I'm just cruising around in that. And
don't take this comment the wrong way.
No,
I see it as marketability.
The other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I ripped up your Instagram before, just to do a quick recce because we'd had no conversation about what we were talking about before I got here.
Just to keep you completely
I saw the photo of the cars in the driveway, and I was like, firstly, that's mad. And secondly, I was like, I wonder how that is perceived by, because it's one or the other. Yeah. Right? They're going to love it or they're going to fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? It's marketability.
Yeah.
Like I know that if you do things a little bit differently and you're opinionated, or you say something, or you post something that makes people look twice, like that's all it is. And it's the same for awards, right? Like awards don't mean anything. And there's plenty of great brokers who have no awards. Yeah. There's plenty of brokers, maybe myself, who have more awards than what they should have, right? But it's marketability. Yeah. Like that's all it is. That's all I see it as is how can I leverage something to get ahead? And that's all it is. And I think with marketing in any industry, your personal brand is your marketing. Yeah. 100%. So the way that you perceive that, especially with wealth creation, and it's like having a fat PT, right? It's not really motivating if you know you're getting advice, or you're you're working with someone who's achieved what you want to achieve, or whatever that is,
Yeah.
it's going to make it easier for the client to relate to you,
Yeah.
or want to be part of what you're doing. So
100%.
feel free to lend me one of the cards when I'm up your way next time. But yeah,
We'll go for it, man.
I don't think twice about when I see anything like that online.
Yeah,
All I think about is how is that marketability wise, and
Yeah.
does it make sense for their brand?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
it.
Yeah. And I love that, man, because it's very similar to what you said before. Canberra boy at heart, didn't grow up with a lot of money. Now you've obviously got some pretty cool stuff as well. And it was funny because I was kind of, as you were talking about, I was relating it to myself, because then when you also said when you get home, you're in the trackies and the slides.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, man, I'm a farm boy at heart. So like, I got all that stuff, which I love all that stuff. It's almost like, and I actually wouldn't mind your opinion on this, but it's almost like the two personas, because there's the one bit, which obviously is the one that most people see. And I also love as well. Like I grew up, that was my aspiration. So I grew up my whole
100%.
life. I knew I was going to
everyone had a Lambo or Ferrari in their wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not a. I think that the hate comes from the people that won't achieve it, not from the people that support you.
Yeah. But it's almost like the two personas, because it's still me. That's still me. But then the farm boy in the shorts and the ute, that's still me as
I
well.
see
you
it like
know?
this, right? It's like a light switch you're
Yeah,
turning
yeah.
on and off.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah,
it
that's
just
a
got
good
to turn it
way
up a bit
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You turn it down a bit. Like it's still the same light switch.
For sure.
It's just got purpose depending on what you're doing, right? Like I love Fridays, go get to wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. As much as I love wearing suits all week, it's just not. Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
What I have seen though is a bit of a transition from a relatability perspective, like yourself as an example, Marty Fox, another example.
Interviewed him last week, actually.
He's a great guy.
Champion.
That more casual persona,
Yeah.
more relatable, which goes against everything that people are told around marketability. But it's an interesting one, because at the end of the day, your brand is the marketability. So it doesn't matter if you're wearing a pair of shorts or you're wearing a nice suit or whatever. If you keep doing the same thing consistently, you're going to attract a type of client.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone's got their own look, which is what makes them individual and attractive from a marketing and branding perspective.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love that. I think one of the other huge pieces too, man, that is like a differentiator, because I know I'm very vocal in the property industry, very different from everyone else. And I love it. I love it.
Oh, look, but like if you're not polarizing, you're vanilla, and no one wants to follow someone who's vanilla.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, but it's just what I was going to do is I'm going to liken it to the same way that you going out there doing things differently and being very vocal about it, and you're changing the industry. And whether it's now, I mean, whenever something changes, it's always in the works. You know what I mean? Exactly, it takes time. And I think that's obviously one of the huge reasons you've built the way you've built, and obviously the way Flint is growing and building in its way as well. So it's exciting, man. Obviously, it's grown you to the level you've grown it to the level, of success as well. So it's cool to see.
like the purpose of marketing is to be front of mind when someone's making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. So if you're not front of mind, then you're never going to get a deal done.
Yep.
And that just comes down to consistency, really, and adding value in bite-sized bits of information that people can digest.
I love that, man. That's a really good. That's a beautiful little. There'll be a
You can
reel
use that
out of
for free.
Yeah, that's it. I appreciate it, man. Man, I'm gonna dive back. I'm gonna wind back a little bit because a bit I would like to know about a backstory before we hook into a few other things around the brand side. But I want to ask one clear thing, and it's how did you become Australia's #1 mortgage broker?
How did I become #1 mortgage broker in Australia? Leveraging social media to build a brand presence.
Okay.
I think, like outside of just all the normal stuff that's broking.
Yep.
That's really it. If I'm being
But you
honest.
say outside the normal stuff, right?
Like obviously you have to have great product knowledge. Obviously you have to be able to get deals across the line and structure. Like that goes without saying.
Yep.
And there's plenty of great brokers in the industry, and to be honest, probably better brokers than myself. Technically, but my ability to get business is better than anyone else.
Okay.
So and that's it, right? If you're a magnet for clients and for partnerships, that goes a long way. Like on the flip side, I've seen plenty of great brokers leave the industry because they couldn't generate leads.
But they're
But
great
they're
brokers.
great brokers.
Yeah.
So I think marketability
They need to
and
join
branding
forces
is
with Flint Group, I think.
it's everything for me. And in a previous life, I was a nightclub promoter, and promoting is just a dirty word for marketing.
Yeah.
And the ability to build hype, explain things online, build an audience, keep them attracted is something I've always found very, very easy.
Okay.
And the biggest issue for me has been processing the business, not finding the business.
Okay.
Which is why I've got a great business partner who
Interesting.
is the other half of that. But yeah, for me, very early on, I was like, well, this doesn't work. Like, how do you scale if I'm doing everything? If I'm doing the loan processing and I'm doing the credit and I'm doing everything myself, like you can't do more than 100 mil a year
Yep.
because that was like the peak. If you did 100 mil,
Yeah.
you were the one. And then I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like you
Yep.
should be able to do so much more than that.
Yep.
And then I remember once I outsourced my loan processing and credit, I went from 30 mil to 120 in 1 year.
Whoa.
Because all of my time was spent on new business content and relationships,
Sure.
which is like you're in a sales role, right? Like you're developing relationships, you're there on the front end. You shouldn't be doing anything outside of that initial conversation and the credit piece. If you've got a great team who can support you
Execute
behind the
behind you.
scenes, like
Yeah, for sure.
and that's the whole business model that I've run from day one is partnering with other great people in other verticals as well, because you can't be an expert in commercial and asset and business and residential and developments, and like it just makes no sense. Like the power is in the niches, and then partnering with other great people around you that ultimately you can offer a better experience to the client.
Yep. I love that, man. That makes so much sense. And leveraging into the different personnel who have all that experience around the different niches, and then so then you're obviously bolting that on, right?
Saying a team, like if someone reaches out to me and say, hey, look, I'm a first-time buyer, then I'll put you in contact with my first-time buyer specialist in the team.
Yep.
Or SMSF, foreign income expat, or commercial, or whatever.
Yep.
There's a power in being an expert. Like if I said, hey, I'm just going to fob you off to my junior broker, that's not going to get a very positive response from the client, right? And I've had that with a number of buyer's agents actually over the years where I've referred a client to, not you, I'm just using you as an example, like to you, and then all of a sudden my client's got a call from someone else.
Yes.
And it just gives me the shits because I'm like, well, that's not how we're supposed to be working. Whereas if I make the first call and say, hey, I'm not the right person for this, I'll get Zach to give you a call who's, the best broker in expat lending.
Yeah.
Like you don't give a shit about talking to me. You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to whoever's the best person for the job. And I think preferencing it in a way that's firstly correct, because that person would be.
Yeah.
There's a power in that. And like I did think for a long time, maybe a little bit arrogantly, that everyone wanted to talk to me, which is a bit of a byproduct of doing the online persona stuff. But a lot of the time they don't. They just want to talk to whoever is the best person to suit their needs and objectives.
Yes.
And if you can preference that and position it correctly, most people are fine to work with another person in your team.
Yeah.
As long as they're getting the same level of experience and service that they should be getting, it's not an issue.
For sure. And I think a lot of the time as well, that is that just comes down to obviously like you building the business yourself as well, and then thinking, well, I'm
Comes
I'm
to
the
confidence
face of
as confidence of being able to say that. Like a lot of people are afraid to say, not even no, but just want to be a yes man, or yes woman. And there's a power into saying, look, there's actually someone better on my team who can assist here.
For sure.
And then it frees up your time for the productive stuff.
Yeah. I was the same thing when people reach out to me to like book it, even just like on socials now, they reach out to book call me. I was like, man, I don't handle discovery calls. Like I'm not going to give you the enough time to run through exactly how it is. But I'll put you onto one of my boys who'll run through it properly with you and give you the whole breakdown. Whether if I jump on there, I'm going to want to do the deal in 5 minutes or not, like move on.
Yeah, but then you're going to have to get someone else involved. They can take the notes anyway. And then you're going to
Exactly.
like, it's the same process, but then you're unnecessarily involved.
And they're also going to give a lot more value to that person and give them the full scope of what they're going to get, rather than me just on and off sort of thing on a phone as well. So it's
I'm still running a
special,
business. I'm still a broker, but I don't see myself as a broker anymore.
For sure.
So yeah, there is that transitioning as well. Like I've got Mia on my team who's an absolute animal, fantastic broker, and a couple of others as well. And like, there's never clients have not called me once in 12 months to go, hey, where's my deal at? Or I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Or the experience has been a negative one. It's always like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Can I refer you to a family and a friend? And that's how our business grows.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I love how you reference. There's so many people in your business already that you've referenced as animals or beasts. I
love someone that works hard. Like I just love someone who throws himself into every. And look, you don't have to be the best on paper. I think attitude is everything.
100%.
And I've had unbelievable staff CV wise who have just haven't worked out. And then I've had, I was going to say that, and I was like, no, but not them as a person. I just mean the outcome of the work produced has just been nowhere near what the CV was.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I've had people who have had little to no experience, who have unbelievable attitude, who have just asked questions religiously and thrown themselves in at the deep end, who have ended up being unbelievable. Yeah. And I just think there's attitude is everything. And even with these state-based HQs, right, there's heaps of big operators ready to come on board, but like, I just know it'll be difficult. Yeah. And I'd rather have good people, the right people, rather than just someone writing a lot of business.
For sure.
And sometimes that's hard, right? Because you see you see a big writer there who wants to come on board, and you're like, God, that would make a big difference to the business. But you know that on the flip side, it'll be an absolute punish dealing with them on a daily basis. And it's just finding that right in between. But Yeah, it's hard.
Nothing's worth the punish as well, though, hey?
No.
Because it's like the headspace. I think this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. They see the ticket, and it's like yourself. You're obviously seeing the size of the ticket, but it's like, okay, but let's say that's one person at $500 million, right? But then if they're a fucking punish and they're going to take all your time and headspace and energy vampire, and it's going to sap you and be incompatible with other people in the team.
It ends up being a fifth of that because of the amount of time that you're having to spend
Exactly.
managing that relationship.
Whereas if you could potentially bring on, let's say 4 people that were at 100, but you could put them on the rails like old mate before at 30, they got to 100. And if you could put someone at 100 on the right rails and they turn into 250, all of a sudden you got 4 people now. That you could do it with 4 people, get them to 250, and they love it, and they don't come in with the preconceived idea that they're a fucking god, and which would be detrimental to the rest of the business. You know what I mean? It's
completely.
It's just we have the same thing almost from a client side, but then even especially from a hiring side as well. So it sounds like it's very similar with who you partnership with, which is almost probably more important or as important. But it's like that cultural piece has to fit so well, and it sounds like it's so important within yours of it's literally businesses being absorbed into the business as well. So it could either be astronomically amazing or it could be super detrimental to the rest of the brand and the business too.
We had a kickstart like I think about a month ago in Sydney. Had the whole team flew in for that. It was just great to see everyone firstly connecting, but also like they just want to see each other win. And they're just really supportive. And that's when you know you've got the right people in a room. And look, from the outside, people will probably think it's moving too quick or he's full of shit. But firstly, that doesn't really bother me too much. But secondly, the people who believe in you, I had calls on us on a daily basis. People going, mate, like, I love what you're doing. Let me know if I can be involved. Every single day, I'd get at least one junior broker reach out to me. Literally at least once a day, like 2 or 3 sometimes, wanting to come on board or mentorship. And at the moment, I just don't have the capacity to do it. But at some point soon, we will be launching a pretty big like mentorship program. Because again, I think there's a lot of conversation around, is the barrier too low to entry for broking, and probably for buyers agents too, to be honest. Given the fact that you're working with people's biggest financial decisions on a regular basis, I don't think the barrier to entry is too low. Where I think the issue is the mentorship. So that first couple of years, they're not getting the right kind of mentorship, which is why the average broker in the country settles 20 million a year. It's not good because they don't get the right tools to be able to succeed. It's impossible to get ahead if you're not in the right environment. So for us, we want to change that, and that's going to be a big part of what we're doing moving forward. We're just trying to not have too many balls in the air at the moment.
And so is the idea of that, it's going to be a mentorship, or it's going to be people coming into Flint and putting them on the correct routes?
People coming into Flint.
That makes a lot of sense.
Look, I can't spend time mentoring someone that's not in the business.
For sure.
It's impossible. So they come into the business, but definitely they'd be mentored by 10 different people, all the best brokers in the country. Because like I'm not a perfect broker, Sergio's not a perfect broker, Reem's not a perfect broker, Ben's not a perfect broker, Emma's not a perfect broker, but together they're perfect. Because each have different skill sets, each have different things that they can teach you. Some are unbelievable at sales, some are unbelievable at marketing, some are fantastic with client relations and B2B partnerships. Like the idea that one mentor can teach you everything is delusional. And you get a little bit from everyone. That sculpts you into the person that you are. And, if you think about it in your personal life, it's the same professional. If you can have a network of individuals around you that can offer you a little bit, 1% here, 1% there, if you give me 2 years, I can give you, financial freedom for the rest of your life. And I think I see so many great brokers. And look, just freedom. So freedom is time and financial, right?
For sure.
What freedom buys you is time. And for me, that's the most important asset in the world, because at some point you're going to have kids and you want to be a present father and you want to go traveling and you want to actually enjoy your life, and you can't do that if you don't have the right support team around you to ensure that your business can still run without you there.
I love that, man. There was so much gold in that. And the thing that I picked in right at the start that, like, you heard me do the evil laugh when we were talking about it, like what I could see cooking up is a massive tranche of associate brokers coming in, learning under some of the most elite performers in the country. And like you taking these guys who maybe would have had the potential to write 20 mil a year, but then you're going to build this army of guys with the ability to do. Like
Sergio, he's just come on board as a partner as well in the business. But his ability to train new to industry brokers, it's like having an army. Like they're just so religious in the amount of calls they're making, the amount of follow-ups they're making, and that sales. Someone who understands it to teach sales properly, mate, like that is just a gift. And Then on the flip side, I've got Reedham, my business partner, who used to be an ex-Treasury economist, and super intelligent guy.
Yeah.
He's Bengali. His ability to build offshore teams is just unmatched. So I always have the joke that I'll bring an idea in, and he just tells me how to make it work, or says no. I said to him the other day, "How do you manage me?" He says, "I was going to learn to say no." But yeah, it's interesting because his skill set and my skill set are very, very different. They're complementary.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go into business with 10 versions of myself.
It would never work.
One's enough.
Yeah.
But that's where you got to understand on that compatibility thing again is what do they actually bring to the table, and what can you bring, and then ultimately how does that help each other?
Yeah.
And I think you need to have an understanding that they're not helping you or you're not helping them. It needs to be mutually beneficial. That's for partnerships as well, and for clients and everything. It needs to be a two-sided street. Two-sided coin.
Two-sided coin, I think.
Yeah, where it needs to be a value add for everyone. Otherwise, you end up with disgruntled clients or disgruntled employees or disgruntled partners because they feel like they're not heard, or you're not bringing something to the table that was promised.
Yep. Mate, honestly, man, everything you've said, I love your philosophy on business and so much of the stuff that we've gone through so far, and especially the stuff you ran through just then, because it makes so much sense needing to have that compatibility piece. And I think the way that you sort of articulated the different people in the business and how they complement everyone else, and how it just makes so much sense why it has so much room to grow.
Yeah.
And then that's again, I go back to the evil laugh that I did. It's because I can see the way, and I've built, I believe, a buyer's agency faster than anyone else in the country and produce more deals than anyone else. And we retain our quality. That's my absolute 101 mandate, is retaining quality, because I was burnt by BA when I was 26, 27, and I made next to no money. And that lesson and that dollar value burnt me more than anything else. Has left a very straight moral compass on the way I like to build people's portfolios and source properties. And what I've been through is a lot of things, and been through a lot of lessons and learnings and hardships of realizing different people that came in that just weren't complementary. And what I can say, I hope this doesn't sound vain of me saying it towards looking at you, but what we realized was the way that when we had to build out BAs, it had to be done in a certain way. And my first 4 years of it, I failed at it. I was okay at it, and some of the people were good. And then what we learned was a certain way to build it was different people applying what they were masters at to who was coming through to create the best version of a BA, rather than just me trying to train it. It was very limited with my time, and there was gaps in the knowledge it was being missed.
That's a knowledge shift, though, realizing that, you're great, but you're not actually as good as you think you are.
For sure.
And where the power is the team.
For sure. Yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah.
You're one very important part of the team, but you can't do anything without them.
Yep. Yeah. And man, that's what I love what you said before as well. And these are the lessons and learnings that I've been through. I'm 7 years into a BA now, buddy. And it's like you were saying before about a broker. You're not really so much a broker anymore. You're the business owner with the way you do it. Obviously you are as well. But it's it's a transitional. You have to change that view in terms of how you do it, and then you have to build it differently and empower other people in the way you do it. And I go back to the evil laugh. It's because I can just see the trajectory you're going to go on with who's coming in, and then the way that you're looking at it and the way you're going to train these guys, and then also the way you're setting up their structure. What reason will they have to leave? You've got this huge reason for so many people to come in, but then even all this, and I'm guessing this is probably where it's going. You're going to have a tranche of people you're acquiring or partnering with, we'll put it that way, and then you're probably going to build your own army on the side. I don't know. And if I'm ahead of that and you want to cut that, you can cut it. But that's the way I would do it, and I can just see the massive scalability of that and takeover, because you've done it and you're helping other people go to crazy different levels. But then if you could almost literally build in from the very start how you want these people built, and bring in exactly that style of person that will succeed, I can just see Flint Group just doing a massive takeover. And like you said, $2.5 billion is nothing in the scheme of things of the size of the Australian market.
Nothing. For
you to then go in and do a takeover and actually build people that want to stay there long term and put them on rails that no one else can put them on. Why would people leave, and why would you not grow this thing into, like you said, by the end of this year, you're going to overtake that anyway.
Yeah.
So then it's like, what's the limit?
Like, if you think of the state-based HQs as well, if you have 5 to 10 junior brokers on each of them every 6 months, we're talking about 100 people.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
Even if they write, a very, 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 and look, this isn't the idea is just to make a lot of money. The reality is to help brokers get to where they want to get to faster. Yeah. And I think I can do what is taken traditionally 10 years in 2. I truly believe that.
Yeah. And it sounds like it comes from the scar tissue of knowing what you were never offered and being able to offer that to people, but also having the ability to do it. Because it's like, mate, I don't think you or I need to work anymore if we don't want to, right? But we have the passion around, for one, what we're building, but for two, who we're helping. And that's both clients, but it's also staff involved in that as well. So and also building something significant that's like you can be exceptionally proud of. Like what you're building now, and like you said, at the end of the year, you're going to overtake anyone else, but then where's that going to get to?
Yeah.
And then if you're at the forefront of that, who's ever going to catch you?
I genuinely get enjoyment out of helping others in the business achieve what I've achieved. Like that's where I get all of my satisfaction and where I get my drive from. And, you know, I go on I went on a broker tour recently and talked to a couple of thousand brokers across the country, and the conversations were underwhelming. And that's not a representation of our industry. I just mean that I just know that so much more can be done to help other brokers, giving them the right skill sets, the right tools, the right mentorship, the right support to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. Because, you know, writing a small amount of business a year isn't sustainable. And look, the pressure that puts on their family and their other lives. You know, you're married, yeah? No. Single bachelor.
Yeah, mate.
We cut that out?
We'll leave that. We'll leave it in. I don't give a fuck. We'll leave that.
What I was going to say is...
I've thrown you a little bit.
Really thrown me off then. Because now what I'm going to say makes no sense.
Go for it, just say it.
The biggest catalyst for me was meeting my wife.
Okay.
And like when we met each other, we had absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this one time where it was raining, and she's like, she's gonna get a couple of trains home, and I said, I'll get a cab. Where I gave her $20. It was like my last $20.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I've got no more money until whenever a settlement happens in weeks. You know, and then look, when I started broke, I had to move home with mum and dad, which was pretty demoralizing, being a 29-year-old who'd been out of home for 10 years, and then all of a sudden having to move back home with mum and dad and having absolutely nothing.
Were you with your partner at the time? Your wife
just
now?
started, yeah.
Okay.
And look, she was with me when I was writing, like just starting out, and then she's watched that trajectory, which is not an accident, right? Like, my success is as much because of her as because of me, and she's very understanding of the hours I put in, how stressful the job is, and she's only ever been my biggest supporter. And look, the reality is that's why I'm here, really. And it's the same as if you're going to go to work and put in the hours, if it doesn't go somewhere, the amount of pressure that puts on your personal relationships and the rest of your life, it's not enjoyable. And like, what the fuck would you be doing something it's been more than half of your life on anything if it's not enjoyable, or you can't even make ends meet? So for me, the reason why we're doing it the way we're doing it is that I want people to be able to have the freedom, financially, time-wise, to be able to enjoy life. And I want to be able to help as many clients as possible.